at 9.
Take a look at your screen. This is video out of Spain where a group of emergency service workers are showing appreciation for each other. Medical staff from 2 hospitals joined by police officers and bus drivers lining the streets outside a hospital in Madrid for a moment of applause. They are showing respect for their hard work in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and also paying tribute to those who have died as a result of the virus. Well, the airline industry is now facing its worst economic hit since 9/11, and some experts believe it could get worse, which could force companies to eliminate flights and slash spending. CEOs of major carriers are turning to Congress for nearly $60 billion in financial relief. Fox's Doug McKelway has the story.
It's not much comfort to U.S. airlines, but the aviation crisis is hitting all the world's carriers, too. Lufthansa's CEO said the longer this crisis lasts, the more likely it is that the future of aviation cannot be guaranteed without state aid. Well, federal aid appears to be coming the way of U.S. airlines after they made a plea to Congress yesterday asking for a $60 billion bailout in order to avoid massive disruption and layoffs of up to 750,000 workers. This morning, the president's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, said most of that $60 billion request will be included in the form of loans to major industries that's included in the stimulus bill Congress is expected to pass this week.
In terms of impacted industries, it looks like about a $200 billion collateralized loan program. I think probably around 25% of that will go to the airlines, with the rest of it spread out.
Is that wishful thinking? En route to a meeting with House and Senate leaders this morning to put the finishing touches on the stimulus package, Speaker Pelosi said, "From my standpoint, we are apart." Then, after the leadership meeting was done, she questioned whether there will be a vote on Monday at all.
I don't know Monday, but we're still talking. It's on the Senate side now because that's their deadline for a vote, but we'll be introducing our own bill.
Leader McConnell is worried that House Democrats are making 11th-hour changes to the bill to include more worker protections.
One House Democrat, for example, said, "This is a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision." That's not what this is about.
McConnell remains confident that most rank-and-file Democrats are on board and that a vote will happen Monday. Speaker Pelosi, not so much. In Washington, Doug McKelway, Fox News.
All schools in Texas are temporarily closed until April 3rd due to Governor Abbott's recent executive order to help slow the spread of COVID-19. But most students will be continuing their education online until they can return to the classroom. When we return, learn what it could take for your child if they're transitioning to virtual education.
watching Fox 7 Austin News with Destiny Chance.
Continuing our coverage this evening of Governor Abbott's update today on the state's efforts to combat COVID-19 in Texas. Currently, there are 334 confirmed positive cases across 43 counties. 6 people have died in Texas since the outbreak started, and more than 8,000 people in the Lone Star State have been tested. The governor says so far less than 10% of people tested actually have the coronavirus, and even if that number seems low, state officials are continuing to work on slowing the spread. Today, he issued 2 new orders to help hospitals and drive-through clinics maximize space for COVID-19 patients. The governor also waived regulations for temporary nursing permit extensions, allowing retired, inactive, and grad student nurses to activate their nursing license to avoid a nurse shortage during this time. As for the idea of a shelter-in-place order for all of Texas, Governor Abbott says he's not against it for certain counties, but doesn't think it's necessary for the whole state at this specific time.
What may be right for places like the large urban areas may not be right at this particular point in time for the more than 200 counties that have 0 cases of COVID-19. As a result, my suggestion is this: as local officials fully understand, local officials have the authority to implement more strict standards.
The governor was asked if he thinks school will resume this year. He says it's too soon to tell right now, and it requires several weeks of observation to figure out if it's safe. There are more than 1,200 school districts and 5 million K-12 students in Texas, and a number of schools plan to resume teaching virtual or online courses as early as tomorrow. Many school officials are starting to plan online courses for students to continue while they're not inside the classroom. Fox's Tom Zizka explains how this will work.
12-year-old Olivia Lintog knows a few things about what's to come for Texas students who may not get to return to a traditional classroom for a while. She switched to the Texas Online Preparatory School, or TOPS, last fall to feel more challenged, with a few benefits getting ready for class.
Just come to my room in my pajamas.
Besides the lax dress code, the coursework is no different than a traditional school. She logs into class 4 days a week with a teacher and her classmates. There are books, assignments, tests that Olivia says, with some simple advice, that kids need to take seriously.
They should be worrying about their studies done and learning, so they will get to avoid having to go to school in the summer.
Olivia's parents say there can be a steep learning curve getting used to not being in a traditional school.
You have to learn to be independent. You have to learn scheduling, time management, all of that, and it's so different.
But educators who work online say any anxiety that families may have about the coming change should be confident that kids will have access to the same education they had before the coronavirus sent them home.
You still can get the state curriculum, still have the opportunities, and still make connections with your teachers. It all just looks, like I said, a little bit different.
Well, we are tracking a little tiny bit of rain still on the radar, but looking way out to the west there towards the weekend.
Church leaders are being forced to come up with unique ways for services to continue despite coronavirus restrictions. After the break, learn how one pastor is working to give his church members a sense of community through troubling times.
You're watching Fox 7 Austin News at 9.
Most members of the faith community weren't physically able to attend church this morning as we continue to practice social distancing. And sometimes with tough times, we can get down on ourselves or even lose a little faith. So Fox's Coco Dominguez spoke with Pastor Joel Osteen on ways we can all stay encouraged and be a positive beacon for others.
Hey, it's Coco Dominguez, and life as we know it continues to change, and many of us are looking for ways to stay uplifted. Please take just a few minutes to be encouraged.
Well, I think it's important to make that choice to not live from a place of fear, a place of worry, a place of panic. you draw in what you consistently think about. And it's easy, you're watching the news, and I'm not saying, there's not a lot of negative going on, but you have to make that choice. I'm going to live from a place of faith, a place of trust, a place of hope. Not downplaying it. I'm going to be smart. I'm going to use wisdom, I'm going to wash my hands, I'm going to stay away from people, but I'm going to stay in a place of peace. There comes a point where you need to put on some messages like ours, or something that builds your faith, or watch something entertaining. Still try to find some time to laugh, or to stay in balance.
As things may get a little difficult at home with kids going stir crazy, he advises parents to lead by example.
As parents, if we can stay in peace, if we can be the example that we're not panicked and we're not upset, I think it translates down to our children.
Pastor Osteen says that this is a good time to reevaluate ourselves.
I think it is a good time to look inside and say, where am I going with my life? Are my priorities in order? And maybe they are, but there's probably adjustments that we can all make to make us better.
He says, don't try to control what you have no control over.
We can't make the virus necessarily go away, or we can't make everything go back to normal right now, so we have to accept it and say, you know what, I can't control all that, but I can control my attitude. I can be good to somebody else. I can have a smile. I can call a friend. I can, maybe take this time to work on, my own career, time that I have more free time that I normally have.
Lakewood Church announced that they partnered with the Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center for an emergency blood drive beginning Monday, March 23rd through Friday, March 27th.
It's something that they can make an appointment to come, and we want to try to help it out, and especially would love to have young people to come and help us to give blood to make up for this shortage in this difficult time.
I hope you were encouraged, if even just a little bit. And don't forget, you can drive right up through. They have a circled driveway, but you must make an appointment first on their website or on the Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center's website. It's Coco Dominguez, Fox 26 News.
Sunday service means more than just worship to many families. It's a chance to interact with neighbors and friends and feel a sense of community. But as Fox's Vicki Carr reports, church leaders are now looking for different ways to get the word to people in the midst of a pandemic.
Hearing the word in a different way.
Today's message is simply called, I am the Good Shepherd.
Grace Chapel in DeLand hosting a drive-in service Sunday.
We have parked the cars at least 6 feet apart to make sure that everybody's at a safe distance.
With worry of the virus, Pastor Ryan Warden and his wife Ashley say they wanted to gather while following CDC guidelines.
This is just us finding a way to worship together, still be safe and love one another and keep that distance, but love each other through a tough time.
Some tuning in on Facebook, those here listening through speakers in their cars, lawn chairs, and across the street from their driveway.
Amen?
The church having to get creative during collection.
Amen. Thank you.
Holly Brunell says coming here kept her mind off the pandemic.
There's sickness, there's many things that can keep people inside in fear, but I didn't think once about the virus today.
As daily life changes, Robin Friend just wanting to be near her church family.
Even if we have to social distance, it's hard for me not to hug people, but I just love being with these people.
Apart,
Jesus doesn't run away from us,
but connecting. In DeLand, Vicki Carr.